Good afternoon and welcome to this joyous, intimate occasion celebrating 30 years since Frank Batten Sr.'s transformative gift that created the Batten Center, now known as the Batten Institute. I'm Scott Beardsley, Dean of the Darden School of Business, and it's my pleasure to be with all of you here today to honor the Batten family and celebrate their impact on the University of Virginia Darden School of Business. I want to warmly welcome Jane and Dorothy Batten, Frank's wife and daughter, here in the front, who are with us today. Welcome to you both. It's great to have you back. And I also want to acknowledge Frank Batten Jr., Frank's son, who had a conflict today with a board meeting, but we're recording this and we'll send him a link. Jane, Dorothy, and Frank Jr. have done so much to honor and further Frank Sr.'s legacy and to create their own impact on the world, the University of Virginia, and Darden. And it's also great today to welcome two Darden School trustees, Lem Lewis and Owen Griffin, who worked with Frank Sr. as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Frank Sr. He was an entrepreneur, media executive, founder of the Weather Channel, and chairman of Landmark Communications, in addition to many other things like being a father. He was also a 1950 graduate of the University of Virginia and a generous and inspirational philanthropist. He challenged Darden through his prescient vision, ambition, and wisdom, combined with financial support, to become a global leader in innovation, venture capital, technology, entrepreneurship, and leadership. His generosity has touched hundreds of students and faculty members, providing opportunities and experiences that have opened up possibilities in their lives. Let me take you through a walk down memory lane. In 1991, Frank Batten Sr., on behalf of the Batten Foundation, committed $2.5 million in a matching pledge to establish a Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership at Darden. This was followed by further pledges and close counsel and engagement with our distinguished former deans. Frank said, and I quote, "I believe many see the great potential for an emphasis on entrepreneurship at Darden, and they see this as an opportunity to add distinction to the school." In 1999, Frank Batten Sr. made a transformational gift of $60 million to Darden. At the time, it was the largest gift to the Darden School, the largest gift ever to the University of Virginia, and indeed the largest gift to any business school in the world. This gift established what we now know as the Batten Institute, which succeeded the original Batten Center, which had been created in 1993 as a result of the first gift, thus our 30 years. Frank joked in his remarks that in making this transformational gift, it occurred to him that it's a pretty expensive name change. But we know that it was far more than a name change. At the time of the announcement, it was promised that the Institute would help Darden secure the best faculty, attract fellows from the world of practice, support budding entrepreneurs, attract outstanding students via the Batten Scholar Program, and extend Darden's presence to the Washington, D.C. metro area. I'm proud to say mission accomplished on those fronts. Over the years, the Batten Institute has been instrumental in shaping the Darden School and the University of Virginia, particularly in innovation, entrepreneurship, venture capital, technology, and leadership. The Institute has played a significant role in reorganizing Darden around these areas and in establishing Darden's first permanent presence in Northern Virginia, an emerging technology hub of the global economy. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the faculty that have been instrumental in advancing some of the most important thought leadership that has also come out of the Institute. In particular, Venkat, Greg Fairchild, Ed Hess, Mike Lennox, Jean Litka, and Sarah Saraswati. These faculty members, along with so many others, are standard bearers of the Batten Institute and have helped distinguish Darden in its efforts. The faculty have really done a great job in moving the mission of the Batten Institute and Darden forward. Also, in collaboration with other schools and departments at the University of Virginia, such as engineering, the McIntire School of Commerce, medicine, arts and sciences, and architecture, the Batten Institute has leveraged its resources alongside the university to establish things like the Batten Venture Fund and support various programs and initiatives, including the Batten Fellows Program. Even more importantly, it's powering innovation right here at Darden, helping us to improve and leverage data in the digital age, heralded by Frank Sr.'s prescient insight of the Internet's importance. Darden recently established a research collaboratory with the New School of Data Science. We have built technology-enabled learning media studios downstairs and an analytics department that is consistent with Frank's vision that Darden itself should be innovative. And many further innovations in data science, analytics, and technology arenas will be enabled in the future by the Institute at Darden. But aside from the Batten Center and the Institute, what you may not know is that Frank Sr. also established the Batten Media Fellowships, which allow professionals engaged in all aspects of the media to pursue their MBA at Darden. But as if that's not enough, there's more. I want to tell you a story. When I first drove down to Virginia Beach as a newcomer to Darden, I had the pleasure to go to the Batten family residence, and Jane welcomed me there. And if you remember, you fixed me some tea, graciously served it, and you asked, how are things going at Darden? So we started talking, and at some point in the conversation, I mentioned that something like 40% of the students at Darden have a worldwide experience studying abroad. And if I remember correctly, you were a little bit surprised, and you said, gosh, I think Frank would have wanted every Darden student to have a worldwide experience. How much would that cost? And I said, I am not soliciting you. And you said, I know. So a few weeks later, after some wonderful conversations with you and Dorothy and Frank, a $15 million gift from the Batten Foundation that was subsequently matched by $15 million from the University of Virginia, delivered a total gift of $30 million, and thus was born the Batten Foundation Darden Worldwide Scholarship Program, which has benefited now over 1,200 students since we had tea that day. Let's give that a round of applause. It's also led to Darden being ranked #1 for its global experience programs in different rankings. And more importantly, it's really changed the lives of so many students who have now been able to experience a different part of the world. So thank you so much for that. I'll have tea with you anytime. All these programs have expanded Darden's network of corporate and knowledge partners, providing incredible support to our faculty, staff, and our students. And we've always been committed to developing future business leaders at Darden, but thanks to the Batten Institute and the other gifts from your family, we have elevated our presence and our ability to stand out in management education in the various ways that I've mentioned. So on behalf of the Darden community, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to you, Jane, and you, Dorothy, and Frank in absentia, and to the entire family for your unwavering dedication to Darden. The legacy of Frank Sr. lives on, and we are so grateful to you and your family's continued legacy, which inspires us every day. Now, I would like to actually invite you all to do something that most of you have not done, which is to hear directly from Frank Sr. He was an inspiring orator for those who never heard him speak. He actually faced a tremendous personal challenge that would have sidelined many. He was a non-smoker, but he lost his vocal cords to throat cancer early in his career, and he had to learn how to talk again. So when Frank spoke, his words mattered a lot, and they were powerful. So we're going to play a video that I unearthed through some internet research from the 1999 announcement of the creation of the Batten Institute. As then Dean of Darden, Ted Snyder, said, "Frank, it is with deep appreciation that we accept the gift and, moreover, a sense of readiness to accept the challenges that it represents. I assure you that the Darden School will not be passive in this time of supreme economic consequence for the Commonwealth of Virginia, our nation, and beyond." So now, let's hear from Frank Sr.
For several years, I've been thinking about what we could do to have a significant impact on business leadership and performance here in Virginia and in the nation. And I concluded that a great opportunity to make a difference is to develop here at Darden a world-class program in entrepreneurship. I'm confident that Darden is the place for this initiative. I've long admired Darden's faculty. I've developed a very high regard for Ted Snyder's leadership. A good start has been made on an entrepreneurial program here at Darden. And now is the time to take it to a higher level, to make it a leader. Why entrepreneurship? And why now? I believe we're in the midst of a economic revolution that may be as transforming as the Industrial Revolution. This revolution is being fueled by entrepreneurs, by new technology and the internet. Now, consider long-established industries are being transformed. Consider the impact of Amazon.com and its imitators on the retailing business, and the impact of online trading on the banking and brokerage business. And I could name many other similar cases. New businesses created by entrepreneurs will become the likes of the Fords, Citroens, and IBMs of the past half century. I think this revolution is a blessing for the American economy. The new economy is nourishing our longest sustained economic growth. It is driving down prices and holding down inflation. It is challenging our largest businesses to restructure and become more productive and more entrepreneurial themselves. America's entrepreneurial leadership is probably our largest competitive advantage in a global economy. America has always been friendly to entrepreneurs, but now for the first time, it is supporting their ventures with an enormous flow of capital. Many of our best and brightest minds are becoming entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurial firms have replaced consulting in Wall Street as the place to go for many MBA graduates. I recently read what was, to me, a surprising statistic of last year's MBA graduates from top schools. About 35% went to entrepreneurial firms or venture capital firms. This persuades me that any business school that does not have exceptional competence in entrepreneurship will be relegated to the minor leagues. So our purpose in providing these resources is to enable and challenge Darden to become one of the leaders in this entrepreneurial economy. Virginia, as Ted has said, is the home of perhaps the largest home of technology firms. This university can be to Virginia's entrepreneurial economy what Stanford and Caltech are to Silicon Valley. And Darden should be the catalyst to make that happen. Of course, Darden's reach and aspirations stretch far beyond Virginia. And I believe that Darden can now become a world-class educator and knowledge resource in the entrepreneurial economy. Thomas Jefferson, himself an inventor, an entrepreneur, would have insisted on nothing less. Thank you. It's been good to be with you.
Imagine the vision saying that 24 years ago. Unbelievable. He was right. I'm now pleased to introduce Jean Litka, the United Technologies Corporation Professor of Business Administration and former Executive Director of the Batten Institute. She's also served in many other capacities, such as Senior Associate Dean for Degree Programs at Darden, and she's very well suited to speak to the Batten legacy at Darden, as she's been part of the Batten community for many, many years, longer than me. Jean is a highly accomplished business leader and educator with a Bachelor of Science from Boston University and an MBA from the Darden of the North and a DBA from Boston University. Before coming to Darden, she was also the Chief Learning Officer at United Technologies Corporation, where she oversaw the company's corporate learning and development. And at Darden, she works with MBAs and executives in a variety of formats and is a thought leader in design thinking, innovation, and leading growth. And she's passionate about exploring how organizations can engage their employees in creating powerful futures through design thinking. She also leads worldwide courses over there in Barcelona. So please join me in welcoming Jean Litka to share some remarks on the Batten legacy.
Well, I was so pleased when Scott and Omar invited me to share some personal reflections on my work with the Batten Institute and particularly with Mr. Batten himself. I learned many lessons from him and from other members of your family. Certainly, the lesson of generosity surrounds us, not just at Darden, not even just at UVA. Dorothy, when I drop my grandsons off at the Peabody School, I see the difference you've made there with your generous work in their behalf. I think I had my first Batten family lesson from Frank Jr. When Bob Bruner first nominated me to succeed him as director of the Batten Institute, I traveled to the newspaper offices in Norfolk to meet Frank Jr. It was about 95 degrees out. It was a sweltering August day. It was late, well after working hours, maybe 6 o'clock in the evening. And Frank Jr. and his assistant were the only people left working in the office that Friday night. And I remember meeting him and thinking, you know, I think I'd be at the beach, not at the office waiting to meet me on a hot summer evening. So that kind of first lesson in work ethic and dedication really impressed me. Then I was invited to your home, Jane, and you greeted me. I remember you opening the door and greeting me with such warmth, making me feel at home. It was my very first meeting with Mr. Batten as director of the Institute, and I was a little nervous. He hadn't had an update in quite some time, and he had asked me to come and give it to him. And I proceeded to extol all of the things that the Institute was doing. I talked about the business plan competitions and the scholarships for students and the incubator. And when I was finished, he very graciously complimented us on our work. And then, of course, he threw me a curveball. He said, but you know, I don't just worry about entrepreneurs. I founded businesses and I've led large businesses. And in some ways, the people I worry about are the business leaders who are dealing with bureaucracy and inertia. And tell me what the Batten Institute is doing to help them lead innovation and growth. And I paused and I said, could I get back to you, Mr. Batten? Because, of course, at the time, as far as I knew, we weren't doing anything. We were solely focused on entrepreneurship. It was kind of the moment we were all caught up in it. So I went back to Charlottesville and conferred with some people and visited him a few more times. And with his advice, we initiated the Growth Leader Project, which was really about studying leaders in mature organizations who are doing an extraordinary job of leading innovation and growth in their business. And in fact, that question he asked really changed the direction of my career. His first suggestion of a leader we should talk to was Conrad Hall. And again, we learned so much in that very first interview from Conrad. In the end, we published a book which we named The Catalyst in his honor. And we dedicated to him. I'll just read you the dedication. This book is dedicated to Mr. Frank Batten Sr., without whose insights, encouragement, and support it would not exist. Which is so true, because as we look at Darden positioning itself as a thought leader, if we look at really ambitious plans that we've always had and that Scott leads so clearly now, to have the best students, to have a significant impact, not just on scholarship, but of the world of practicing managers. It's really the Batten Institute that is the core of the possibilities of those kinds of contributions that we make. And in that way, it has made such a difference, not only to me personally, and just sent the 8th book, still answering that same question, or attempting to, I would say, not entirely satisfactorily, sent that 8th book off to the publisher. And as I look around at the work I've done and the work my faculty colleagues have done as a result of the support of Batten, and work that we could not have done without Batten and the inspiration and ambition it gave us, I'm so pleased to be able to say thank you personally to you for that. I'm also pleased to have the chance to introduce our newest leader at Batten, who will carry on the proud tradition. Omar Garriott, another proud UVA grad, excited, I know, to return to Charlottesville after 15 years as an entrepreneur at top tech firms like Salesforce and Apple, as well as himself a successful entrepreneur and author and consultant. So with that, welcome, Omar. And you have a proud tradition to follow and keep up. Thank you.
Okay, I have learned never to put myself after Jean. Thank you for the warm welcome. As Jean mentioned, I'm honored indeed to be with the Batten, be in this role and be with the Batten family today. It's been so lovely to meet you. I'm honored to be in this room, which represents mere ripples of the tidal wave of the Batten gifts. Faculty, Batten scholars and student leaders, mentors and advisors, alumni, administrators, and staff. I'd like to pause to express deep gratitude for all of the people here and not here, who have contributed so much to the Batten Institute mission over the years. I feel so grateful. Because I get the privilege to serve this institute and this institution that I love as the next in line of a prestigious line of executive directors like Jean and other leaders who are household names around here, Bob Bruner, Mike Lennox, Sean Carr. I stand on the shoulders of these titans, and I can never be what they were. I can only hope to be a good steward with a proactive, at times provocative, vision that best positions Batten and Darden in the new economy. More on that in a few minutes, but spoiler alert, I can assure you I've figured it all out in the 5 months I've been here. But first, let's take a look at the enormous impact the Institute has made and is making, impact on the academy, on our community, and really on the world.
The Batten Institute, born of a gift from a visionary leader, a gift which changed the face of global business education and propelled Darden to make a peerless impact in the field of entrepreneurship. Impact on the academy, pedagogy, our community, and the economy. Preparing generations of leaders not just to envision the future, but to create it by bringing entrepreneurial thinking to firms of all sizes, just as Frank Batten Sr. wanted. So how is the Batten Institute transforming Darden into a leader in the innovation economy? First, we advance breakthrough research and ideas, from effectuation and design thinking to corporate innovation, decarbonization, and AI. Ideas that ripple far beyond academia and are being embraced by change agents in every corner of the world. Second, we drive world-class education and experiential learning with $17 million in scholarships to more than 150 students to date. Dozens of courses taught by the top minds in innovation who've also reached millions online, and 500 internships to help students kickstart careers in startups and VC. Next, we transform ideas into value-creating ventures. Our intensive iLab incubator has trained 300 founders who've gone on to raise $250 million in funding. And we've provided $3 million in direct venture support, including to winners of the UVA-wide Entrepreneurship Cup. Finally, we proactively support Darden students pursuing careers at the leading edge in technology, social impact, and innovation in all its forms. We've expanded Darden's presence into DC, as Mr. Batten presciently challenged us to. And we're creating a virtuous cycle in the tech sector where we now send a fifth of our grads. Together, we've come so far in the past 3 decades, and our work is always beginning anew. We believe that all things are possible tomorrow. Our mission is to ensure that Darden leads, not follows, in making that possibility reality. True to Mr. Batten's spirit, we pursue this mission with an abiding and unrelenting sense of hope. The Batten Institute, the innovation engine of Darden, driving Darden forward.
Enormous impact. All right, let's make that impact a little more proximate by hearing from one of our esteemed Batten scholars, first-year student, Curie Chang. Curie?
I miraculously got my voice back this morning, so please excuse me if I have to take a sip of water. Hello, everyone. My name is Curie Chang. I'm a first year at Darden and a Batten Scholar. In college, I had a memorable opportunity to meet Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor. My Supreme Court class was visiting to observe an oral argument, and by chance, we were able to unofficially sit with her and ask her a few questions. I mustered up my courage and I asked her, "What kind of justice do you hope to become?" A little cheeky for a junior in college. But she told me it was the toughest question she'd been asked that day, so A+ or DP from Darden for me. But more importantly, she said that she hopes to never lose curiosity in the work that she does for the country. And this stuck with me for a very long time, and something I mulled over frequently as I went through my own 10-year career. And a couple of years ago, I found myself in my curiosity lost. I was fortunate enough to be part of some amazing projects during my time at the Fed as a data scientist. Interagency work, consumer policy, presenting to the Chair Powell and the Board of Governors. It was a ride that I was grateful to be on, but to be honest, not excited to be on. I spent 2 years remote working in Colorado due to my husband's military orders. There, I witnessed the impacts of the Cameron Peak wildfires. What I observed about the resulting displacement, health impacts, and stunted recovery matched what I learned at the Fed. that such negative climate events hit disadvantaged groups much harder. The wildfire, thankfully, stopped 10 miles short of my house, but not before it established environmental innovation as my main professional priority. I started with a question I've always wondered about as a consumer of the fashion industry. Where do my clothes go after I'm done with them, after Goodwill, after the thrift stores? Pulling the literal and figurative thread on this question inspired me to found a company, Petrichor, to address textile waste. My new purpose became protecting the environment for future generations by creating sustainable replacements of staple garments and designing products with the end in mind. Whereas I was working for my country beforehand, this dream could have a positive impact on the world. Yet this idea was so out of left field compared to my past that I wondered if I could pull it off. Then I got the call from Whitney, and the Batten Institute presented me with an opportunity to come to Darden. And Darden alumni like Elizabeth Blankenship, who won awards from the Batten Institute for business and sustainable fashion, convinced me of the support of the Batten and Darden professors and alumni who would be in my corner to teach, to guide with their years of experience and connections. And when I spoke to more alumni, I became curious. What kind of school leaves such happy and frankly satisfied alumni? And to top it off, when I spoke to MJ and Joe during my interview, they shared the enthusiasm I felt about my business idea. And it was one of the first times that I felt like I could be successful in my pursuit of my own definition of success. So with the generous scholarship of the Batten Institute, I accepted and got to Darden. In the past 2.5 quarters was an opportunity to meet with professors who care, to be humbled by my brilliant classmates, and learn how to shrink the fight from Damon DeVito so I can move my business forward. I became more inquisitive, engaged, and challenged. Batten family, your gift has made it possible for me and my cohort, and the cohorts before it, to become a part of the Darden community without the very real financial pressures that often accompany pursuing an MBA. I want to thank you for your continued generosity, providing a safety net for me and my distinguished classmates, and for guiding me to Darden, where I continue to grow my curiosity in the work that I hope to do for our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Curie. You inspire us, and we're here to support you. I'd like to offer just a few reflections on what I've seen and a preview of where we're headed at the Batten Institute. Mr. Batten wrote a fantastic piece in HBR in 2002. He said, "A powerful business concept is an indispensable driver of successful entrepreneurship, but having deep resources behind that concept is an enormous advantage." True to his word, he and the family blessed Darden and UVA with an enormous advantage, creating what I believe to be the largest center of its kind in the world. That blessing has enabled all of the successes, and so many more you just heard about. Successes I can take zero credit for, but my team can. Thank you to the Batten Institute team. The main thing I've learned in my first few months here is that without the Battens, there is no Darden, at least in any modern conception of the school. As Dean Beardsley said, the two are nearly synonymous. And going forward, I believe that the Batten Institute is just as vital as ever, maybe more so, to the future of Darden and to Darden's ability to prepare students to create the future. We will do 3 things. First, advance breakthrough ideas. You will see us put a greater focus on translating and amplifying research and true thought leadership with a cohesive point of view on innovation. I'm excited that we together get to decide what we want to stand for in version 4.0-ish of the Batten Institute. Working hypothesis, good disruption, and the enduring disruptor. Second, education in and out of the classroom. You will see us roll out the welcome mat to more students, no matter their academic and professional interests, especially in tech. And we're going to turn the Batten Scholars into a robust cohort program with an engaged alumni base similar to the Jefferson Scholars. And third, transform ideas into value. Maybe that means ventures, but maybe not. Our goal is not just to churn out entrepreneurs, but to inculcate an entrepreneurial mindset in every Darden student. Because I believe, and I have seen, that it's that mindset which separates leaders from followers. You will see us expand our intensive iLab incubator to new delivery mechanisms and populations, facilitate better career pathways for joiners and investors and corporate innovators, support alumni founders, create a matching app to help Darden students find, say, a technical co-founder. Imagine a Tinder for UVA startups. And 5, deepen collaborations across grounds, especially with engineering, data science, and the Batten School. Mr. Batten challenged us to be a world-class center. I have seen nothing to indicate that we haven't risen to meet that challenge. What I want for us now is to be recognized as such, as the shining light in academia that we are. I want us to tell our story. And at the same time, we'll be unafraid to innovate ourselves, to eat our own dog food or drink our own champagne, and push through the innovator's dilemma to not be a victim of our own successes. We will focus on the activities and investments that have the highest ROI. I am using we language because we don't and can't do any of this alone in a silo. We need you. We need your active engagement, your smart brains, your networks, your new ideas, your time and energy. Hafiz wrote, "Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing." That is our guiding philosophy. Community first. Luckily, around here, we know a thing or two about community. I really do believe that anything is possible. How we shape that possibility, well, that's for all of us. That's our shared work. We've done so much so far, and we're just getting started. There's nothing we can't do if we do it together. With that, I want to hand the podium back to Dean Beardsley for a special announcement.
Thank you very much, Omar. I love your vision. Now it's my honor to share an exciting announcement with you. As we've seen, the Batten family has a long and proud history of shaping the future of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship at Darden. And today, in honor of Frank Sr.'s incredibly generous gift and vision and your continued philanthropy with us, and as a physical manifestation of it all, I am pleased to announce the creation of the Batten Global Innovation Nexus. What is that? As some of you may know, many Batten Institute activities and the innovation laboratory known as the iLab that we saw up on the screen earlier were housed in Sponsors Hall over by the law school and down the hill. But to build the new hotel, that building was demolished. Our master plan vision, which we presented to the Board of Visitors at the University of Virginia recently and was approved by them, committed to finding a new home for those activities that used to be in Sponsors Hall. And during COVID, step one of that was to move the iLab back up the hill into the classroom building, which now at the end of the classroom building over to my left, to bring the iLab and innovation closer to students. And that closer proximity has worked well, so well in fact, that we will tighten the connection even further through the next step of the master plan, which is to create the Batten Global Innovation Nexus. Let me walk you through this. This is an image of Darden now of the south side of Saunders Hall, seen from this way. So what you can see is that side view. Now please note that the central nave of Darden currently ends with the flat gray roof that prevents connectivity of the second floors. In other words, from the dean's office to the top of the classroom building to the top of Abbott, there's no connection there. we've engaged Robert A.M. Stern Associates, otherwise known as RAMSA. They were the original architectural firm that designed the buildings in which we now stand. And they're also, understandably, the architects that are updating the master plan to re-envision the central corridor of Darden. In fact, we have the same exact man that designed Darden doing the work, and his team. Now here's a vision of the proposed structure. The enlargement of the corridor, which currently displays Darden's global flags down here, the flagged hallway, will serve as the central hub for academic innovation, and it will connect the classroom building and the Abbott Center with a new technology-rich space on the second floor of Saunders Hall. This nexus will house the Batten Institute and the innovation staff and support the Batten Worldwide Scholarship Program and activities as well. It will provide our community with a modern, dynamic environment for collaboration, connection, and growth. Basically, this is a collection of spaces over 3 floors, and it will now be known as the Batten Global Innovation Nexus. Now, of course, there's a lot of details and approvals to sort through before the final vision is implemented, but the Nexus can start with the space that we have right now. So let's take a look inside. Here you can see a cross-section of Darden's central corridor, this corridor here. We are here in the South Lounge. The new Nexus will bring together the school, both physically and intellectually. A new main staircase at the back, where those mailboxes are, that we will call the Nexus, will connect the floors of Darden, which have never been connected before, and will also help to make Darden at the second level more ADA friendly and accessible at different levels. Students will have easy access to student-centered services and to Darden Media, which is just below. It's already there. We have the media labs downstairs. And it will also connect us at all the levels. There will also be a Genius bar and a coffee bar. We have one now, and we may move it around a bit, and multiple areas for collaboration where students can pursue their dreams to be innovators, technologists, and entrepreneurs, and to get their career advice, which is also at that second level. That's where the Career Center is. So we think this space will enliven our mission to inspire our students as responsible leaders who will improve the world. This vision slide gives you an idea of the energy we hope the Batten Global Innovation Nexus will bring to the Darden School. Lots of approvals to go through, but we plan on starting the renovation and construction in 2024. In these spaces, the pioneering spirit of Frank Batten Sr. will live on. I'm so grateful to Frank Sr. and the Batten family, Dorothy, Jane, Frank, for your continued support and your commitment to the future of Darden. You have made this dream a reality, and we are so lucky to have you in our community. We will work hard, I will work hard, to be deserving of the trust and generosity your family has shown to Darden. This fall, we will host another event to celebrate the Nexus and the broader vision for the Batten Institute that Omar started to trace. This will be a time to come together and rededicate ourselves to the values that have made the Batten Institute a cornerstone of our community, our school, and our university. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to raise a glass and join me in a toast to the Batten family, the Batten Worldwide Scholarship Program, the future of the Batten Institute, Frank Sr., and the ongoing legacy of innovation, entrepreneurship, technology at Darden. And here's to the new Global Innovation Nexus. Cheers.